A big hello and a very warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. As you can see today, we're not in the studio, but we're at Dentsu. I'm here to interview Harsh Razdan, who is the CEO of South Asia, and Amanda Morrissey, who is the Global President of iProspect. So good to have both of you on the show today. It's a tough mandate that you've taken on. There's been a lot of coming and going in terms of, leadership on the top, especially the captain of Dentsu ship. How's that been working for you in terms of your first, stint as the advertising CEO of an agency that needs a lot of work?
I've had a wonderful time. I agree with you, there's chaos, but the chaos is organized. 2023, when I came in, you're right, there was a lot of challenges at the Denstu end. My job was to just stabilize internally, get your house in order. Sure. 2024, building blocks for 2025, and 2025-26, growth. In general, I'm feeling very comfortable, happy. A lot of support from our Japanese home, a lot of visitors as you keep seeing. And thanks to all the global visitors who are, a lot of them sitting in London. Also, we keep getting them in because we need all the kind of help to kind of resurrect us to the kind of glory we had earlier and even more than that.
The perception globally of Dentsu and in India, I would say, is a Japanese giant has tried very hard to be strategic, especially in the Indian market. I would even extrapolate that and put it into other markets. But somehow it's not just got its game right, especially in context to India. They've tried several things, of course, before your time. But this is the perception of the holding company, which is sizable, but somehow is just not able to crack it in key markets.
So, like you say, before my time, I've only been here 3 years, but I've worked in other big networks as well. And what I've seen in the other big networks is they're constantly in transformation because we have to be, because the advertising and communications landscape is. I think what's different with Dentsu is it's in it for the long term. That's when I came here, that was one of my biggest impressions of Dentsu, whereas when you're in one of the other networks, which you'll know well, it's much more short-termism. It isn't here. It's a much more long-term play. So I think what Dentsu is doing, it's driven by innovation. It's driven by building a better long-term society for consumers, shareholders, and for its people. So I think there's an evolution and an adaptation and a development and transformation. So I think what they're not afraid to do is try things. Okay. And if they don't work, adapt it and move on. And so as a new person, that's how I take it.
Yeah, just adding on to Amanda, the philosophy which Japan has, and I've learned over the last year and a half, is of humble confidence. We are the only group which is Eastern oriented versus most of the others which are traditional competition, which is Western oriented. The time scales are very different in terms of how they treat things. When I came in, my first thing to the management here was that, are you here for the long term? And are you willing to sort of back me in terms of the changes I'll do, which will be contrary to what you will see? And the answer was yes. And to your point, it was a very different and difficult decision, I'm sure, when I came in. But you're increasingly seeing that this whole model about one Densu and the whole thing around holding company has disappeared. All the group CEOs for the 4 different regions report into Japan. Everyone is moving as per one kind of wavelength. The time frame may be a little different from what people may be expecting. But as per our time frames, I think we are almost there and getting there more strongly.
Some of the things that you have tried and attempted to do, and I'm sure that's also work in progress in the last 17 months, is you've said that you've kind of, interacted with this organization, with the different CEOs. And the one thing that you observed, which you've said in the past, is that everybody was solution oriented, as in selling solutions, right? So creative was selling creative, media was selling creative. And out of home was selling out of home. And now, of course, you bought in the CX layer, and you're looking from your advisory kind of experience, telling your agency folk to listen more and then tailor solutions. While that's all very well, how is it trickling down to the larger org? You know what I mean?
When I came in, I met about 140 odd CEOs. Each of them say the same thing, they were selling solutions. I said, let's reverse it. We will become client focused. Very easy to say, difficult to execute. So in January this year, we moved the top 25 clients into a single client lead perspective. For example, if I lead a particular client, if Amanda is doing a different service, she backs me as the client. And I'm there whether I get slapped, whether I get claps or whatever. I'm standing there and defending it. Not an easy job because I'm not used to doing it. The good thing is, the second layer of my organization, which is below my leadership team, has found it totally different from the way agencies would have worked. And they are the people who are sort of willing to learn much faster and is unleashed for me a different level of talent which wanted to do things but in the past could never walk out of the shadows of what the bosses were. The 24 clients have moved to 75 starting July 1st. And I just talked to my team. I said, what if we go a little bit more? And people are saying now it's not about how much more. We are all comfortable adding as much as you want because we think that is the model to go forward to.
But I don't understand this 24 to 75 you're saying. What are you talking about?
These are client name numbers. For example, you will have your list of clients.
So you're saying you've added.
No, on our clients, we used to go solution first. Like you said, a creative team will go and meet, or a media team will go and meet, or iProspect would meet. For the top 75 clients, one of them is the company lead, and they get compensated not because they're doing the iPro numbers of the client, but because the client overall grows in creative and in CXM, all three of them together.
So essentially, simplistically speaking, you are saying you are offering a holistic solution.
A portfolio, and that's exactly I come to my mandate. My mandate here is to balance our portfolio, grow our revenue to twice the size in 3 years. We have a creative and media business which is very strong. CXM is growing rapidly, which is the tech space. Get that added into the portfolio rapidly through acquisitions or quick lifts of people. A fourth vertical which we've not talked of and will come up next year. Japan very strong. It's sports and entertainment. You know how large the space is in India. Dentsu plays very different from any of the traditional competition in the space. And Japan's working with me, or I'm working with Japan to try and land that in India.
So I understand this holistic, portfolio approach you're going with. So are you then suggesting that your creative, media, and CX all have to be integrated as one team, which is a mammoth task for any agency. Everybody's been trying it, and it's easier said than done. So I appreciate the effort. My question is, in these three verticals of yours, and let's keep it as creative, media, and CX. In terms of just sheer revenue, would it be right for me to assume that media would be your strongest player?
Media and creative are equally strong for us in India.
In terms of revenue?
In terms of revenue, they're equally strong for us in India. Creative is a very strong thing post the acquisition of Web Chutney, Isobar, What Consult. So it's a very strong portfolio we have. The slowest, the youngest kid of the blocks is CXM. You're right. It doesn't mean that everyone becomes a jack of all trades. No. That's not going to be possible. The top 75 clients have dedicated or have higher focus from people who are managing the client, and the teams under them are sandwiched. For example, if I'm a creative person servicing an account, I'll have a media and CX person as a sandwich team with me, who are able to answer first order queries from the client.
But who is the lead on that is my question.
The creative person. That's the creative person if it's a creatively strong account, right? Over a period of time, if the media becomes stronger, we'll decide who leads it, right? But currently the first port of existence is, let's say, creative. So the creative person leads. Now, not all the leaders will become great client leaders, right? It's a big change. Over a period of time, some people find this thing comfortable. I think most younger people will find it comfortable. That's my initial feeling. Most older people are having to change because that was not the way they were operating, right? So, and I think that's a part of evolution of our company. But you're right. Am I 100% there right now? No. I have to enter a lot of meetings, coach people in terms of how they have to talk to clients, because the tendency is still, I'm creative, I'll talk. I said, no. What is the client asking for? What is the marketing task? Maybe it's not about creative. Maybe it's something else. Get your other colleague in. Get her talk to the client. And that will take time.
That inertia, which
Correct.
is, which obviously comes immediately, but has to kind of be negated.
Correct. And you're right. Maybe over a period of time, some people may find better careers outside the company, and that's fine, because every model to their own. But most people are finding this is a relief in terms of growing their own careers and learning a lot more.
While you have senior creative people within Dentsu, I don't see one big creative face who is your poster boy or poster girl. Is that strategic? So
our strategy was until last year that we used to have one creative head for. We have two creative brands right now, which is Dentsu Creative Web Chutney and Dentsu Creative Isobar. Since January this year, we moved to two creative heads. One Shurjo Dutt for Dentsu Creative Web Chutney and another Abhijat for Dentsu Creative Isobar. We now, having settled down the brands, because the brands were also pretty mixed till early last year, we want to build their image over a period of time and then get them to be two CCOs for the country. That's the strategy. We don't believe having one CCO may be the answer for the country. Media
is a very important kind of piece for any holding company. Are you seeing this model being effectively executed in other markets?
Yeah, definitely. So the way we think about it is media is the flywheel for growth. So as Harsh said, creative and CX, we want to grow, develop, but media really is that flywheel for growth. And so the model is working. We've got a two-door strategy in every market around the world, and that's how it works here as well. So it's very much built around clients. So if the clients want to come in on either a media brand first or a creative brand or a CX brand first, then we give them the brand. Equally, if it's a much more integrated approach, like the one Harsh is talking about, and we need different capabilities from across the business, we create a Dentsu team for them. And because we're a single P&L and we have common objectives across all of the practices that Harsh is talking about, it's really easy for us, again, having worked elsewhere, it's really easy for us to build teams from different parts of the organization to create them one single integrated team. How it gets delivered is nuanced by market, because what we try and do is make sure, and the way we've done Denstu Creative in India, is try and make sure that we've got the framework, the blueprint that's consistent, so globally we can deliver clients a consistent experience, but in market, it's the best structure in market.
How would you say India is different?
So I think India is different in that we have Posterscope is still a brand in India in the media division, which it isn't elsewhere around the world. Socrati exists in the media division because of the notoriety of the brand and the brilliance of the work that they do. And then we've split in India, we have two creative brands. In other markets, there's one single Dentsu creative brand. So again, that makeup is to reflect the eclectic nature of the market.
So if I can add on, when I came in, I realized that the brand consolidation had gone to an extreme where you sort of almost let the local brands disappear. Right. Which I said, there's no urgency to kill a brand. You bought a brand because the brand stands for what it is and clients love it. By killing it, you're going to sort of harm yourself. So some of the movements around Socrati and holding on to a brand with Amanda, we said it has the equity to continue for some time. Posterscope, what will you do by sort of merging into another brand? It has its own equity. Web Chutney, it had almost disappeared. I said, no, it cannot, because we still get majority of our leads on the Web Chutney website.
I've asked some questions of the past. Let's talk about right now and the future with, the new leadership. So you're well aware of how Dentsu has been perceived, let's say, in the last 5 years or so. As new leadership what is the new positioning you are focusing on and working towards in terms of industry perception and client perception of them?
So two things. One is, we are not an agency, as I call it. We are a marketing and tech consultancy, because we talk and advise our clients. Very big mindset change. It'll take 12 months, 18 months more. But clearly talk about marketing and technology. Media, very important to that. Creative, very important to that. So is also technology, and so is also sports and entertainment. So talk portfolio to the client. But anything in the space of marketing is the positioning for Dentsu.
Harsh, why do you think that this is the offering only Dentsu is kind of giving in the market? Why do you think other agencies of your stature are not doing the same?
No, they may be doing it. I'm just saying that this is what we want to be famous for.
You want to be famous as what? The one-stop marketing shop?
Marketing into tech shop, I would say. That's going to be our claim to fame. And the second thing I would say is our tagline globally is innovating to impact. We think innovation doesn't have to be creative or media. Innovation is at the core of our heart, and innovation has to lead to impact. So what our efforts over this year, and we just launched the tagline over the next 3 years, will be whatever you do, try and create it some kind of an impact. Not because, just don't do an advertisement or a creative because someone told you. What will it lead to? And the more you quantify, the more comfortable the chief marketing officer or the CEO of the client is. So I'm not saying what others are doing or not doing. My thing is, can we move our agency into a marketing and tech consultancy world? And that's the attempt. Our incentive structure, to your point, is not, for my leadership team, is not creative, media, CXM dominated. If they do the creative numbers, they only get half of their appraisal done. The remaining is the accounts that they are managing, how much have they grown. And the account cannot grow only because you're a creative, it will grow because of media and CXM and other things. So everyone is appraised that way. So I said, you can crack creative, take half your bonus, go away, even if the country smashes it. But if account and your own practice does well, then you've maxed it out for yourself.
And that's a new way of
yeah, that's been
the new model.
Top 40 people are on that, and if you do the top 40, rest will follow. Will follow.
Just to talk about your first quarter results, right? So I think the media business has suffered a little bit because of two big losses with Maruti and Reckitt. I know you've kind of tried to make that up with a few account gains, but how are you going to ensure that you big clients, right? Big clients, because that's what every agency or marketing tech company is looking for, will be attracted to come and be part of your repertoire.
So for India, I think we are now growing month on month over the last few months over the same period last year. And growing in strong single digits and leading to almost double digits now. So we've recovered and more than recovered the loss that we had. Right? Although through smaller wins, you're right, in relatively smaller wins. Work to be done on larger clients. We have multiple pitches. We are going to make all efforts to come back. And look, the clients that we lost last year, they go for a pitch every 3 years. It's a cycle. The cycle will repeat. We'll be back in the race to 2025 end or something of sort.
It's one of the things that we do is, on a global level, is that we call all of our big global clients, and that's kind of clients that operate in multiple countries. So we don't necessarily think of them as size of spend, but more what territories that we have that in and across what capabilities we work with them. So we call them accelerator clients. So the way that we work with the markets and the regions is then we go, how do we then get this client into that region or into that market?
Like global alignment, basically.
Exactly. And so that now we've done the stabilization work that Harsh and the team have done a brilliant job of in 24. That's part of the discussion that we're having now, which is which big global clients are present in India? Do we not have in India yet currently? And then how do we work together? And we're not after, like Harsh said, we're not in it for the short term. Over the long term, next 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, how do we make sure that we're the network of choice when they come around to review?
I just want to ask you, what percentage of your business comes from globally aligned clients?
Globally aligned clients are about 25% of business. A lot of it is also a mix of Japanese clients.
Of course.
Which are strong, but a mix of Japanese and other MNC clients.
I see. And you're hoping that in the next couple of years, that 25% is pushed even further?
The global wins are very important, give stature, also give size. At the same time, if you look at India and the way we are growing, a developing economy grows from the bottom. That's the belief I have. It may be that the mix remains constant over 3 or 4 years, I believe. But because we are putting equal amount of effort in growing the bottom of the pie. A lot of effort is going behind large corporate groups in India. You know, the large corporate, we are going after them. We are going after startups like anything. Socrates' job is exactly that. We are starting to go into small and medium business space now. Okay. So I think that the mix may remain more or less the same, plus and minus 3%. And because that's the way India is going.
India is sort of very aligned globally. So our target globally, because we're very different to the other networks. And again, this is why I like Dentsu. We have a global framework, but we're very locally driven. We've built market up. And I think that's really important to the culture, but also the way you deliver the work into the client. So, you know, ultimately, globally, what we're after is 30% global clients and 70% local clients in markets. And those numbers will change by market, but that gives us that local nuance, the richness and the size and the scale of local business and the attention, but a good, stable enough level of global clients that create the anchors for us on a global basis. So it's very similar in terms of the makeup and the numbers.
You've made a statement saying that you're looking to double the business in 2 years.
3
years. So so that would mean by 2026.
27, mid 27 and 27.
Mid 27, right? What are your growth levers?
Dentsu strategy at one point of time, which I believe 2014 to 19, was to become an established player in media and marketing.
Inorganically.
Which we did.
Yeah.
We now have significant scale to grow organically. At the same time, we have to look for the right acquisitions in technology. We are not saying no to acquisitions in creative and media. If there's something really good, differentiating, accretive, we'll pick that up. But we will do selective ones in media and creative, but go much faster in the tech space, go much faster in the sports and entertainment space, which once the Japanese strategy comes in.
So that is what you think will propel the growth, basically?
I think that will balance the portfolio and sort of balance our revenue. I think over a 3-year period, and that's what Japan says, our revenue will be about 40 to 50, maybe 40-50% around CX and sports, and the 40-50% will be creative media, because that's how the portfolio will balance eventually.
You know, since you've come in and you've changed the model and you've made it more consultant-like, you know, and not so agency type, have you also changed your remuneration structure?
Not yet. I think we are beginning to experiment with variable structures. in selected clients where the trust is there and the clients understand what it means. For example, at a particular client, they were looking at cost to acquire in the performance business, cost to acquire a customer, and the deal was a very flat number of people deal. I said, let's link it to fixed and a variable depending on if your cost to acquire comes down. Imagine a performance marketing deal, right? A typical performance marketing deal will be, this is the spend, this is the kind of resourcing, and I'm agreeing to these kind of KPIs. I would say we flip it across and say, what was the client trying to do? So instead of saying fixed and variable, say only fixed is this. But if I increase your downloads to twice of what you were expecting, will you give me extra money? It's like saying,
exactly.
I help you sell more cars. You're expecting to sell 10,000 cars. If I sell 20,000, will you give me a ratio of that? That's what typical large consultancy.
And what is the response?
We already have 3-4 clients in the mix, and we don't want to do many because we are not ready, right? I'm saying I may be ready, but Sonali, you said, my team has to be ready.
Absolutely.
So let it soak in slowly, and we don't want to do many again. Slowly, the news will float around in the market that we are differentiated, we are different. And then I think things will grow. But we certainly don't want to do the standard stuff which you've done because that won't take us too far.
So one of the things that we're thinking about moving forwards is really starting with outcomes, not ending with them. And so that is helping us on a global level. We're testing with clients different because they like that idea because it gives them the business intelligence at a board level to justify how they're spending their media dollars or their creative dollars. That's then helped us, because outcomes are so important, to have the conversation around what are those outcomes and what percentage of the business do we put at risk in achieving those outcomes. So we're definitely having that conversation. We're having conversations around only get paid on outcomes. And that's a different because the clients can't actually measure and justify that yet. And we are also, because we're building so much technology ourselves, that we're almost renting to clients. There's also the SaaS arrangement where if they want to take some of the technology we build in-house to make their media more efficient, then they pay a license model for it. So we're testing constantly different models of remuneration, which is much more along the consultancy route than the traditional agency network route.
You've worked with WPP, Publicis, and now Dentsu, so you're really quite you have an inside view of the industry. What would you say would be differentiating between these holding companies? Are they just all broadly the same, just structured differently?
For Dentsu specifically, that Japanese culture, you feel it. I mean, it's really part of the entity of the organization. And with that comes that spirit of innovation. So I haven't worked in another network where innovation is the soul of the business. I think the other part is because maybe the way Dentsu grew up, it's much more entrepreneurial. So it feels very empowered here because it feels so entrepreneurial, which is why you can make so much happen in a very short period of time when you're somebody new in without the industry background. So I think that's a really important part of it. But the last one for me is no matter how much we get technologically driven and AI will rule the world, advertising is still about humans. And I think one of the things that really sets Dentsu apart is the generosity of spirit. And I think it's the humble Japanese nature, but the generosity of spirit of all of the humans here. I think that really helps with where you guys started. How can you get people to work together? Because everybody actually genuinely are on the same page. They want to work together and they really want to help set everybody up for success. It really is about influencing each other to create great work. You don't have to have the biggest budgets. You need to be smart. You need to work together and collaborate, and you need to be really innovative in the solutions that you bring about.
For an industry that is trying to rewrite the model because so much has happened, and this is not just India specific, globally everybody's trying to change models, understand, be relevant, all of that, and keep pace. Why on earth did you join advertising?
So it was not advertising firstly. It was creating a company which is marketing and technology. Being the first in the pack to try and take a non-standard path. Japan gave a lot of confidence in terms of the freedom they'll give me. And the biggest thing I realized after coming in here is that the talent is so unharnessed because you've been running in such silos. The moment you unleash it, there are 5 more people who stand up and say, wow, I can do the job. And I said, actually, you're more efficient than the previous one I was thinking. So the more you unlock, the faster and better the team is getting. So that's been sort of making me feel confident. When I came in, I always thought that most CEOs won't meet me. Because why are they going to meet a consultant? And actually every CEO met me said, come back again because you're so different. You talk a different language. Everyone talks in silos. You're not talking the typical media or creative language, you're talking business for us. And I know business won't come in tomorrow or day after, but sometime it'll create an impact for Densu.
Well, lots of power to both of you, and of course to Densu as you take this new path, and hopefully the organization will see a new direction and will thrive in years to come. All the very best, and lovely speaking with you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for your time.
You too. Thanks for having us.